There are disturbing events that have taken place in Kuwait. There are at least 40 Indians who have died in that fire in a building. There are 50 others who are at this point of time grievously injured and have been taken to hospital. In fact, the Prime Minister Narendra Modi has decided to send the MOS, Ministry of External Affairs, to Kuwait to look into the matter. There is, of course, going to be the big matter of bringing back the bodies of the deceased to Kerala and Tamil Nadu, from where a number of these labourers who were travelling from India and working in Kuwait were found dead in this devastating fire. In fact, we are getting to know that there is going to be a big and important meeting that will be held at the Prime Minister's residence. The meeting will be held on the issue of Kuwait. The Foreign Minister, the Minister of State for External Affairs, both of them will be present during the meeting. The top officials of the Foreign Ministry will be present as well. And it will be held at the Prime Minister's residence. Joining me on the telecast is Ayush. Ayush, take us through these developments. The Prime Minister has assigned the Minister of State for the Ministry of External Affairs to be sent to Kuwait for conducting all the formalities and coordination purposes, and now a meeting is taking place at Prime Minister's residence.
Well, yes, Megha, a significant and highly anticipated meeting is scheduled to take place at the PM residence to discuss the pressing issue concerning Kuwait. And this meeting underscores the importance of the matter at hand, indicating that it involves critical national and international implications. The key attendees will include the Foreign Minister and the Minister of State for Foreign Affairs, both of whom play a pivotal role in shaping and executing the country's foreign policy, especially with Kuwait. Their presence highlights the strategic importance of the discussions and the need for high-level decision-making. And in addition to these prominent figures, top officials from the Foreign Ministry will also be present, and their involvement ensures that the meeting will benefit from a comprehensive understanding of the diplomatic, economic and security dimensions of the issue among both the nations. And the Prime Minister's residence further signifies the gravity of the situation. In summary, the meeting at the Prime Minister's residence on the issue of Kuwait is a high-stake event involving key government figures and top officials from the Foreign Ministry, aimed at addressing and resolving critical concerns with the utmost seriousness and strategic planning. Over to you, Megha.
All right. In fact, it is Pinarayi Vijayan, the Chief Minister of Kerala. He has expressed condolences for the deaths of a number of Indians, especially from Kerala, in the fire at the apartment complex in Mangaf in Kuwait. The Kerala Chief Minister has said that the news of over 40 deaths and numerous injuries due to the fire is deeply saddening. The initial reports indicate that a Malayali is amongst those who lost their lives. We share in the grief of the families and the friends of the deceased, is what he has shared out. Ayush, back on the telecast with me. Ayush, 21% of the population in Kuwait is Indian origin. There are 31% of the population that works, that's the total workforce of Kuwait, which comes from India. In a situation such as this, there are, I think, almost all the people who were in that building, who died in that building, were all Indians. They were labourers, they were working, they had travelled from India and were living in Kuwait on a work visa, is what we are understanding.
Well, yes, Megha, out of all the 43 deaths, there were 40 reportedly Indians, and now the Indian Embassy in Kuwait is in high action mode. The Indian Embassy in Kuwait is holding high-level meetings, and the emergency helpline has also been issued for the families of the deceased in India, and the Embassy in Kuwait is totally in contact with the people, with the families of the deceased. The people who have suffered major burn injuries have been shifted to the nearby hospital. The embassy is also trying to contact the families of those people who are shifted to the hospital and are alive as of now. Over to you.
Okay, we are also getting to know that the Kuwait Interior Minister has spoken to the media. Sheikh Fahad Al Yusuf Al Sabah has ordered the police to apprehend the owner of the Mangaf building. That's what we are getting to know. And what the Interior Minister of Kuwait has said, that this is because of the negligence of the builder who built this building. There were a number of these lapses in the security certificates being given to the builder, and that's the reason on the basis of which the Kuwait Interior minister has demanded, has ordered the Kuwait police to arrest the owner. I have to tell you that the owner of this building is in fact a Kerala-based builder who's living in Kuwait. All right, let's get Mahesh Sachdev on the telecast with me. And Ambassador Mahesh, you know, such an unfortunate incident. It has happened out of the blue, 40 Indians dead. And what is the cause? Well, because there were not stringent enough safety guidelines followed.
That's true, Megha. It's a fact of life that Kuwait, more than any other Gulf country, has a larger proportion of unskilled or semi-skilled Indian workers. And this has very many reasons. Firstly, before the current oil boom, Kuwait was already a magnet for Indian community. Before UAE, before Qatar, and before Saudi Arabia came to be in the prominence, Kuwait was the main place where to go to for Indians, and they have been historically there. Secondly, I think in the past decade or two, Kuwait has slipped down the economic ladder due to internal political issues, which is something else that we cannot go into details of. And therefore, the Kuwaiti economy's stagnancy has meant the deterioration in the condition of expatriate workers in general and Indians in particular. Indian maids had a difficult time in Kuwait earlier, and Indian workers' salaries were affected by the downturn of Kuwaiti economy as such. So the stagnancy of Kuwaiti economy and society has had that telling impact on Kuwait's semi-skilled and unskilled Indians' living conditions, and may be linked to that particular aspect.
Okay. I have with me Alok Bansal as well. He is the director of India Foundation. Alok Bansal, how do we, further take steps? Already, Minister of State for External Affairs has been sent. Now is going to be the difficult task of bringing back the bodies and bring them to the relatives, the families who at this point of time are bemoaning the loss of their loved ones. I think all of them were laborers. This was a building that was constructed to house the laborers, 195 of them. We are going to get to know which area in Kuwait, which company or which building area were they working on, were they construction workers, but as of now, this is what we know. Now, how do we ensure the safety and security of Indian nationals when they step out and go out and look for work?
See, what Ambassador Sachdev has said is actually the truth, that in Kuwait, most of the Indians who are working are actually unskilled. Now, these people who are working in NBTC group, the company, the building where they were living belonged to that group. It's actually a Malayali businessman from India who heads this particular company. It's actually a company which predominantly employs Indian workers. Now, what happens is, just because of various reasons of greed, you in fact stuff these buildings which are meant to house much lower number of people with more and more workers. Many of them work shifts. There are hot bunks where people go and come. And as a result, you had so many people who were sleeping, who were in deep slumber at 6 a.m. when the fire broke out. And that's where I think the building did not have adequate systems for evacuation or exit. And to the best of my knowledge, almost all the deceased are Indian nationals, and which exceeds more than 40. The ambassadors and all have taken prompt steps. They have visited the hospitals. The government of India has taken a very prompt step, sending Minister of State to Kuwait, because these families whose mortal remains have to be brought in would be in real crisis, because they really don't know how to get the paperwork, etc. done. Now, with the high official there, I am sure that this thing will be expedited. But what is needed is that I think Indian embassies in all these countries, I have said so repeatedly, especially in these Gulf countries, where we get almost 50% of our remittances that come to India come from these areas. And India is today the global hub for remittances. We get the largest remittances in the world. I think these embassies must have a system of documenting each and every Indian who's working in these countries and probably maybe visiting those companies and the places where these people are staying. It will require some amount of work, but I think it is worth the effort. I think that the Indian embassy must take, because these workers actually enrich India, they bring in the precious foreign exchange, and the country owes it to them that they live in decent state.
Yeah, but
By
let's
looking
also
at the
let's also come face to face with facts. These are poor families. They've gone abroad. They've gone abroad to earn money. Most of the money that is earned is sent back to India. They spend hardly any money on themselves. Kuwait is an expensive country to live in, and I wonder what kind of living conditions were they staying in that building. Now that will also have to be investigated over there. There have been cases in the past in Gulf countries, in Dubai, where the living conditions of laborers, of workers are deplorable. In a single room there must be 5 to 10 people that must be just pushed inside, and that's exactly how their living conditions are. So how do we figure this out? Does this become the responsibility of the Kuwaiti authorities? Is this now the responsibility of the owner of this building, who's a Malayali himself? Are there safety norms that were not followed? Now all these questions will have to be answered.
There is no doubt. I think the Interior Minister of Kuwait has already said so, that because of greed, certain norms have been violated. The owner has already been apprehended. He's ordered the apprehension of that particular owner. But as I said, there are a lot of things. These companies which are earning huge amount of profits, they want to cut down on costs, and as a result, they do not provide adequate accommodation to their workers. They actually stuff them like can of sardines. Very often there are more people than the apartment block is actually configured to accommodate. And that's why when in such crammed up spaces you have this sort of disasters, it is then that you come to know that so many people were living. If you look at the building, it's a 6-story building, but there were more than 160 people living in that particular building. You would imagine how many people would be living in each flat, and with that small flats, how crammed up the spaces would be. So I think there is some need for an accountability. And as I said, our embassies in these countries also will probably have to look into these facts and need to ascertain, because very often we are really not taking care of these people who are from the lowermost strata of the society, and very often they are living in miserable conditions. Of course, they are coming from very poor families and send everything that they earn virtually back home. So it's essential that we ensure that they have some minimum living conditions that are actually available to them.
And they have admitted that there are a number of patients, and he assured them there is going to be full assistance that is going to be provided by the Indian embassy for their upkeep, for their medical assistance, medical treatment. In fact, these are all these visuals of Adarsh Swaika, who arrived at the hospital earlier today. Ambassador Mahesh, again, these are firefighting measures that are being done by the Indian government. They not only do they have to do these measures, these are the lives of our countrymen who have lost their lives. This is a tragic incident. I remember a number of these operations that have already been conducted by the Ministry of External Affairs, whether it was evacuation of Indians from Ukraine or in Israel, or for that matter, even providing these COVID vaccines to a number of countries across the globe, particularly the ones that are developing countries, and that sought this aid. And now there has been this kind of proactiveness that has already been shown. That our Ministry of External Affairs, our government is equipped with handling complicated situations and safeguarding the lives of our Indians. But here, the matter is different. These Indians have already died. Now, the only thing that can be done is, number one, yes, the injured who are right now in hospitals, 30, 40, 50 of them, they have to be provided medical assistance. And the embassy has come out and said, the ambassador has visited over there and he said, all help, all assistance will be provided. So the families should be rest assured, the victims should be rest assured.
That is correct. In fact, the consular services that Indian embassy provided are quite extensive. It may be direct by, as mentioned earlier by a panelist, embassy need to be proactively engaged in checking out whether the living conditions that Indian nationals are there are being met by forensic audits and interviewing the employers, etc., etc. It's also done indirectly through Indian associations, which are active, and they are tasked to look after their members. And there is a vertical tree through which we get to know whether a particular section of Indians employed in a particular sector is doing badly, is having problems, etc. What is also necessary to be factored into this situation is that very often the Indian and other expatriate communities live at the periphery of the main society. The media, the other interactions are minimal. They have their own structures of social media, etc., among themselves. And the mainstream media, such as Kuwaiti newspapers or televisions, etc., would rather not talk about them. They are supposed to serve, and that's it. This was quite evident during COVID times when Kuwaitis were known to be somewhat harsh with regard to the foreign expatriate community. I think what also needs here to be done is to have community warden system in particular geographical areas, so that people know how to approach the Indian embassy through these wardens from Indian community. And there are also other mechanisms, taking recourse to social media, having a hotline, and other ways of getting in touch with each one of them, giving them resources to do so. I have handled Kuwait for nearly 7 years in 1990s, and I know that Indian maids, for example, used to take shelter when their employers were mishandling them, manhandling them. I visited Kuwaiti, our embassy in Kuwait, with a couple of hundreds of maids being given shelter in a big hall. So all that is there. These are possibilities. And our embassies are normally very alive to this part of their job.
Also,
and
talking
they're
about,
doing their best.
There's an order that has been issued by the Interior Minister of Kuwait. He said that the owner of the building needs to be arrested immediately. The safety norms have apparently been flouted. But what about the authorities who allowed for the safety norms to be flouted by this builder?
That's what I meant when I said that they would rather not talk about welfare of these expatriates. They're supposed to be there to serve. And there is, I should say that there is a huge paraphernalia of beneficiaries from larger and larger number of expatriates. These are travel agents, these are house owners who need to rent, these are grocery stores, and so on. All these services benefit from having larger than necessary number of Indians or expatriates in that country. So having more Indians, more expatriates in a particular country, small one as it is, a city-state of sort, is a prescription for this kind of disasters taking place.
Yeah. Alok Bansal, how do we safeguard the lives of Indians living abroad, particularly when such an incident comes to light? And I'm not talking about the rich Indians, I'm talking about the ones who are poor and who only travel to countries like Kuwait and Dubai to earn money and to send it back to their families.
See, as far as rich Indians are concerned, they are capable of taking care. They are well connected. They know the embassy staff. They can reach the people. It is these poor people who don't know how to communicate, how to get in touch. And I think the suggestion which Ambassador Sachdev gave of community wardens is a very good job. We could have honorary community wardens who could be paid a token honorarium by the embassy to look after a particular area and become a nodal point for all these sorts. Because please understand, countries like Kuwait have a large Indian working population, but it is not a very large country in terms of area. So it's not said that it is something like United States or something where you have to travel from one part to another or another to another. It is a fairly small country in terms of geographical expense. So if you actually want to divide it, it's possible for embassy to interact with these so-called community wardens on a periodic basis and give them a token incentive for these community wardens to get in touch with those community people in particular areas and get to know their complaints, etc., and pass it on to the embassy. Or embassy could periodically visit these areas also and see in what conditions are these workers living.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's an unfortunate incident that has happened, and the entire country is in condolence of the family members who've lost.
Megha, we have been waiting for your taking.
Okay.
You haven't called us till now, and do be quick.
Okay, Major General Sudhakar ji also on the telecast with me. Major General Sudhakar, yes, your response. I'm sorry, I was not informed that you've joined us.
No, it is just not possible. You have a panel. The pictures are visible. We have been waiting for you to address us.
Sir, would you like to make a comment on this, sir?
Yes, I have something to share. I have been president of a multinational company in Oman. I know how this system functions. I know how this labor class is hired from India. But you don't give a chance to speak. You keep repeating the same panelists. If you don't want us, please do not invite us. That is all I am saying. So there is a bigger thing which needs to be gone into. Firstly, an accident has taken place. We need to address the first accident that has taken place, how to contain so that it doesn't spread. The second thing is, what was the primary cause? My people whom I know who are in Kuwait, they have said there was a trigger because of a short circuit early morning and the fire started from the ground floor. It is just not possible. Whenever a labor class is hired by the people, by a particular agency, registered agency, they take them and put them up in a house. Unfortunately, almost all the countries in the GCC and the Middle East, without any exception, they do not adhere to the stringent fire precaution rules and regulations. Unfortunately, this is the reality. People who are supposed to be accommodated in 6 in number, 6 to 10 in a house or a room, you will find it is double the strength. So these are the kind of steps which the country has to take. But I have a recommendation for the government of India. First, we need to take steps to prevent further casualties to our own people. One. Number two, whatever best medical help is to take place or extended by government of India, it is already happening. I have just spoken to somebody in the South Block. They have told me that, yes, requisite steps and initiatives have been taken up. Third and most important thing is that how such an accident doesn't recur in future. Prevention is the foremost target that India should be looking for which we should work as a nation. Back to you.
Okay. All right. Thank you, sir.
For more such videos, subscribe to the NewsX YouTube channel, hit the bell icon.